Hi everyone, it's Lou Collins. Thank you for joining me on the CraftStash channel. Today I'm going to show you a kind of magic window card. There's different variations of this technique around out there. I think this is absolutely the easiest one. I'm going to be featuring a brand new collection from Creative Craft Products. It's called the Floral Calendar. I'm going with the July flower, the sunflower here, but you have got florals for every different month included in the collection. And there is also some sentiments as well that are perfect with these floral stamps. You'll find everything I'm using linked down below, and I'll give you a link at the end as well. So sit back and enjoy this tutorial, and by all means go shopping as well if you wish. So let's focus on the sunflower first of all and get that magic kind of colour window going. So we need two materials here. I've got plain white cardstock and I've got some heat resistant acetate here as well. You'll barely see this because it's so clear. So I'm going to be using the two together and die cutting them together eventually. Let's just trim the A4 sheet of heat resistant acetate down. Now you don't have to use heat resistant acetate. The reason I am is because I would like to heat emboss my image in black embossing powder over the top on the acetate, but you can just use a stays on ink instead, and then you don't have to have the heat resistant property on the acetate. That will just go onto any normal acetate. So I'm going to put my stamp into my stamping platform now. As always, I'm using my Creative Craft Products stamp platform. This is absolutely brilliant for positioning and repositioning. I've actually put a Sizzix sticky grid into it. So there I've got my acetate on there. You can't really see that, as I say, because it's so clear, but trust me, it's there. I'm going to just take my stamp off. This is the first time I've used this stamp, so I am going to be prepping it as such. And by prepping it, I mean I'm going to prepare the surface ready for stamping. To do this, I just like to take a simple pencil eraser and brush it over the surface of the stamp with the flat side. I use quite a large one, so it takes me no time at all. And all this is going to do is take the coating off of the stamp that's left there from the manufacturing process. You will get this with virtually any type of clear stamp. Now this is already stuck down, otherwise you'd need your magnets to hold your acetate in place. And I'm going to use a clear ink on this. This is an embossing ink. It's specifically made for embossing. Again, you're not going to see this until I add the embossing powder, but you want a generous amount here, but not so much that your stamp is going to slide around on the acetate too much. So just a nice fine covering here, making sure that all the detail is caught with the stamp. Again, it's very difficult for you to be able to see where that detail has actually hit from the stamp. So until we add our powder, we just need to hope that we've got a really good coverage. So I am going in with my fingers and I'm pressing down on all areas of the stamp just to make sure that I've got the pressure there. All good. And then let's apply our powder. And this is our clear black embossing powder. Being careful not to touch whereabouts you hope your stamping is. I'm just going to shake it over part of the image, just a small amount, because then I can start to see where the image is and where the powder needs to go. So then I'm not putting loads on my acetate and wasting it. And then pop it back into the tub. Now, there's a few areas on here where I've probably had greasy fingers on there, for example. I'm going to hold that over my waste paper bin and I'm going to give that a little bit of a tap from the back, and that will get rid of any of these excess pieces that aren't being held on by the ink. Perfect. So now I've got a really clear and detailed image, and I can take my regular paper heat tool and I can put this onto the heat embossing. As you can see, that has melted the embossing powder. I've got a nice solid black image now, and it's clear, it's see-through. So now we can do the next stage. I've kept my stamp in my stamping platform because I want to re-stamp it again onto the white cardstock. Now at this stage, I'm not actually really concerned with whereabouts I'm stamping on the acetate or on the cardstock. I've got an A5 sheet roughly of each, and I'm going in the middle. Now, if you don't have heat resistant acetate, or you don't have the correct inks, embossing powders, etc., you can also use the backing paper that comes in with your stamp. So that's one to try as well. Now I'm going to stamp this, and this time I'm just going to stamp it in an ordinary black ink. So I'm going to go with VersaFine Clair. I don't need to prep my stamp again because of course that's just been done the last time. Perfect. Now I want to add colour to this version of my stamping, not the acetate version. It's worth mentioning as well that each of these stamp sets do come with the outline dies as well, so you're getting a bonus in each pack. Now I'm using alcohol pens to colour in here, and I'm using a big brush nib here. This is a yellow colour, but I'm pressing down quite firmly at the base of the petals with the edge of the nib. So lots of ink is saturated there, and then I'm just doing flicks up towards the ends of the petals, and then I'm going to take a lighter yellow and blend these in. Now my image is all coloured in and I've got my outline acetate version over the top. I'm going to lay the two together and just put some tape around the edges so that they stay close together as well. I want to make sure those images are perfectly aligned before I do the next step. So this is going to go over the top, and this is just a low tack tape. This is my Creative Craft Products one. As you can see, I've got almost everything in the Creative Craft Products brand. And again, from Creative Craft Products, I'm going to be using this die set. So this is the larger board labels. These are nesting dies. I might use this one. This is a little bit, perhaps a little bit small. I might use the next size up, to be honest. This might be a slightly larger card in the end. So let's just see. That's better. That's much better. I'm not worried about the stem going off the bottom, but I do want some space at the top so that the window where the flower is seen isn't so small and the flower's not peeking out the top of it. That will come clear in a little while. So I'm going to then also tape my die down onto my acetate with the flower central, but as I say, leaving a space at the top for me to put some string or ribbon through. And I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. I may need to run it through 2 or 3 times to cut through both the acetate and the cardstock. So now we've got our 2 layers, we need to join them together. So I've got something to punch a hole through the acetate and the cardstock, and I've got some twine here. I'm going to again place them together, making sure that they are really perfectly aligned. And I'm going to put both my acetate and my cardstock at the same time through this is a crocodile, but you may have another hole punching tool, and I'm going to put some twine through that to hold them together. So I'm now coming back to those nesting dies, and I have chosen the next size nesting die up from the one I used before, and the next size down as well, so slightly smaller. And I'm going to create a card base that is kind of going to wrap around this to create that magic window effect. So I'm going to cut 2 of the larger one, and in the front of one of these I'm going to cut this smaller one as a window. Now we also want to cut one of the middle shape. This is the one that's the same size as the tags you've already cut. And this can be from any colour cardstock. It doesn't have to be white. I'm actually going to go with a pale green cardstock for this, just to give a little bit more interest when the card is closed. Now, wherever you want your sunflower to sit inside the card when it's closed up, you just want your panel that you've just cut, the green panel as such, to just sit below that, so that the top of the green panel would sit at the bottom of the hole with the twine. So that is going to sit really nicely on the base of my card there. So onto the back panel, I'm going to adhere this green piece, and I'm just going to do it with a small amount of wet glue along the bottom edge, and I'm going to place it just there like so, making sure that it's a nice even gap on either side. Now you can take your double layer of floral stamp or whatever you've chosen to do for your design, put the coloured version behind your green panel, and put the clear acetate in front, just like so. So you can see, now I'm going to place a thin line of glue down this edge, and across the bottom here, and then glue the front panel over, making sure that none of that glue whatsoever touches the acetate and the coloured in panel. Now if you prefer to do this with a tape to be sure that the glue doesn't seep, that's absolutely fine. It will work in the same way. Now I've also used the Creative Craft Products Notch and Corner Punch. This is created for envelopes, but it's perfect for cutting the notch in the top so you can see the strings, the ribbons, whichever you've chosen to use, and see where to pull the card up. Now for a touch more interest when the card is closed, I'm going to add a sentiment. We have got the sentiments here. I love this for someone special born in, and then of course you have July written in the stamps in the sun with the sunflower, so I can combine the two to create a long sentiment that's going to fit across the card. Now I have just adhered that to the two side white panels there, and when that glue is dried I will trim the ends off. Now just to add some more colour to the front before we reveal the magic window, I'm going to re-stamp this sunflower here, and I'm going to colour it in and cut it out and just add a couple of halves to the border. So this is the front of the finished card. You've got plenty of space on the reverse for putting a message. Obviously this is not the coloured image, but as you lift the ribbons or the twine up, whichever you've chosen to use, you get that colour reveal at the top. How cool is that? Now at the moment this will all lift out. You can put a gift card inside the two layers. You could put a secret message on the back. That's entirely up to you. But this now doesn't look quite so plain. If you wanted to stop this from being able to actually come out, you could put a stopper, as in a slightly wider piece of cardstock just at the base here, and then you could continue your glue just inside the edges there so that your stopper can't get past those. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and you like the look of the new floral calendar stamps and dies that are all available exclusively as CraftStash. We'll make sure they are linked down below for you in the description, but you also have the link up here that you can go to. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to the CraftStash YouTube channel, and we think you're also really going to like this video just here. Now take care everybody, and I'll see you again soon.